Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh,
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome everyone to one of the most legendary and unforgiving circuits in all of motorsport, Sebring International Raceway. Tonight, the grid takes on the historic concrete airfield turned racing battleground, where endurance is everything, and mistakes come at a heavy cost. This track is infamous for its brutal bumps, low grip surface, and ever-changing conditions as the sun begins to set over Florida. Drivers will be wrestling their machines every lap, managing tire wear, surviving the infamous concrete slabs, and finding rhythm through corners like Sunset Bend, where races can be won or thrown away in an instant. Precision, patience, and survival. That's the name of the game here tonight, so buckle up because this is Breaking Bad and this is Sebring, folks. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Joining me in the broadcast booth tonight is Steven Koenig. I am Sagar Bakshi. Track Cams brought to you by TrackCams22.com. Steven, how are you feeling for this lovely evening here in Florida?
I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to it, especially Sebring, a tricky circuit, as you said, that can really either work in your favor or it can all fall apart, and especially so late into the championship. Drivers are looking for their ever crucial points to make sure they stay at the top, and this is one circuit that may break drivers. But Maxim Motorsport is going to be keeping an eye on all the action this season as one of our sponsors here at Breaking Bad. If you need any work done for your cars, if you need any work done for racing, have a chat to Maxim.
And tonight's race sponsor is going to be Beads by JC. That stands for Jed Cotterman, pilot of the number 7. He's leading the championship right now, but we'll get to that in a few moments, and we'll also get to Beads by JC during the warm-up session and talk to JC himself and see what Beads by JC has been up to in 2026. But right now, over to those points as well. Take it away for the Masters column, Steven.
So Carl Ross leads out on 791 points, a slim lead over Carl Smith. João Baptista in third on 661 points, followed by Javier Sierra, Corey Jones, Carl Malley, Clancy Galvin, Wade Morris, Jeffrey Davis, and David Bush III holds that top 10. But I've got to say, it's close to the Masters. Pro is where it gets interesting. So, Saga?
Absolutely. It's just as tight in the pro category. Jed Cotterman, as I hinted at earlier, leads with 783 points in front of Jamie MacArthur, LaShawn Young, Dilworth in third, Kyle Dersham, John Voight, Jack Clark, Dennis Crosby, Keon Maduro, Roberto Perez, and TJ Yankee. And now that we have this third category of the Masters, the Pro, and the Pro-Am, let's see what it looks like in the Pro-Am, Steven.
Now, in the Pro-Am, after the last race, it's all switched up. Oliver Brooks leads out the charge on 795 points. Francis Peralt sits on 700 points. Rafael Rodriguez sits on 675. Chet Miller, Nicholas Paul, Owen Huffington, Kobe Brooks, Jesse Chase, Kenneth Coping, and Fars Ibrahim rounds out the pack. Spa switched things up in the Pro-Am and in the Masters category. So now to see what they can do around Sebring, it's going to be an interesting one. It's either going to play into the favor of the drivers here on a beautiful circuit, open in 1950, and now sits 75 years old. A 6.0 kilometer circuit, or 3.7 miles, 17 corners to try and deal with. Turn 1 being extremely difficult because if you run too wide, you're into the grass. Run too shallow, you lose all the drive, and you have to get your braking right into 3 and 4. Otherwise, the walls come up quite close. And the hardest braking zone out of all of them is heading up to turn 7. A tight right-hander into a quick left, where we see most drivers barreling off straight or spinning out, causing a huge blockade, and everyone having to be rather careful tiptoeing around.
One of those keynotes that always gives me a chuckle about Sebring is they say that the first race was actually held December 31st of 1950. So the inauguration date is closer to 51 than it is to 1950, but although due to technicality, it is 1950, right? But all things considered, this is a grueling 3.7 miles or 5.9 miles kilometer circuit here in Sebring, Florida, with 17 corners, 7 to the left, 10 to the right in total, and only 10 feet of elevation change, but most of that is actually in localized areas, Stephen.
Not to forget that this circuit, home to so much history, will be going and keeping a bit of chance. So Corey Jones and Clancy Garvin sit first and second. Javier Sierra holds on to third. Joel Baptista, Carl Ross, Kyle Smith, and David Bush as our qualifying comes in from Masters. Corey Jones leaving nothing to chance. Moving on to our pushing the limits pro finishing order. It's Jed Cotterman, Jacob Cotterman, and Lezing Young Dilworth holding on to that top 3. Joseph Kelly and Carl Dersham hold on to the top 5.
Out from there, it'll be Michael Anderson, John Voight, Jack Clark, James Clark, Dennis Crosby, Brennan McCurdy, and Keon Maduro there in 12th position. And then for the AMs, Jason Holland, Oliver Brooks, Nicholas Owano round out the top 3. Kobe Brooks, Frank Perot, Brian LaFrisa, Owen Huffington, Jeffrey Strong, Nicholas Paul, James Gilpin, Jesse Chase, and Kareem Jakob rounding out the 12 there.
Some good times being put in. Everyone wanting to break the lap record in the race. A 158.448 was set by a McLaren 720S GT3 Evo in 2025. Well, let's see if the drivers will be able to get close to that time here in the sim. However, it's going to be a bit of a tough one as we move on to our warm-up. Drivers already utilizing that to just get a little bit more comfort as the sun sets around Sebring and the brake markers start to fade.
And just seeing if we are going to be able to speak with Jed Cotterman, as he was the sponsor of the race tonight. Just going to check in with him real quick, but I can see from the driver cameras that we have that he's out on track right now. So I don't expect to see a message from him anytime soon back, as the warm-up session is already halfway through. What are your predictions for the night? And do you think we'll have a little bit of a cleaner endeavor than we did at Spa last week running?
I think after last week, there was a bit of a chat between all the drivers on taking some risky moves on the start. We saw 3 wide into turn 1. We've seen drivers push each other a bit hard. I think it's going to be a little bit tamer this time around. Everyone knowing the circuit can be rather brutal and can land up causing some nasty accidents. So after that, I think it's going to be a nice gentle run, but can't guarantee that lap 2 drivers aren't going to throw caution to the wayside and start aiming to move up through the positions. Remember, the championships are still close and everyone having a chance to win big. Sebring is one of those circuits that if you get it wrong, it can throw you down the championship, but if you get it right, well, you can look to lead the championship coming out of it. And especially as the championship is getting to a close, it's running out of time, the drivers will need to think, okay, take it calm for the start, plan my route, get through the grid, and also I've got to keep an eye on my pit stops, whether I can carry the momentum a little bit later into the race or deciding to pit a little bit earlier, get out of traffic and focus on the charge. There's lots of nuances that you can do here on the circuit, but you've also got to think about what it does to tire management as well. It's a heavy degrading circuit on the tires. It is a lot of stress out on the front left tire, especially for your Aston Martins. They tend to take a little bit of a beating on that side, and that's something that they will have to remember, trying to maximize their pace. It's such a beautiful circuit that has been the home of motorsport. It was built to try and rival Le Mans, including its Le Mans section that is at the back end of the track before you get to the mile-long straight, going and having a bit of fun out there.
Absolutely. And I do want to make a quick and swift correction. It's not Jed Connerman, the sponsor of tonight's race. It's Jacob Connerman, the sponsor of tonight's race. And I'm not seeing them out on grid tonight, so I don't think we will be getting to talk to the pilot of the 48. Sending a quick message now, Steven.
Well, with that being said, it's wonderful to have our sponsors coming in and helping out the league. It's always welcome to go and have them part of the family. I've got to say, this is the one thing that makes sim racing so exciting. When you get to have a chat to the leagues, you get to have a chat to the sponsors, have a chat to the drivers, get their feel on what their night is, why they get behind the world of sim racing, and where exactly can they move forward. I mean, this is going to be a great one. This is going to be an exciting one, and I wonder who is going to be charging their way to the top. Question is now, Sega, if we think about Sebring and how it has changed people's lives and championships, what would be the big jump out for you in this race? What would be the key strategy that you're looking for? Mine would be taking a rhythm, focusing on when I'm going to get into the pits and get back out of traffic, not wanting to be stuck in traffic. Your thoughts as we go through our starting lineup?
Corey Jones alongside Clancy Garvin in that first row. Jed Connerman and Javier Sierra. Jacob Connerman alongside LaShawn Young, Dilworth, João Baptista, Josiah Kelly, Jason Holland, and Kyle Dersham line that first five.
Moving down, it's Michael Andrew, followed by Carl Ross, Oliver Brooks, and Nicholas Orano going to be chasing each other down. Kobe Brooks, Carl Smith, John Vaught, Jack Clark, James Clark, and Frank Peralt holds on to P19.
For the back, Brian Lavrisa, Nicholas Paul, Jeffrey Strong, James Gilpin, Dennis Crosby, David Bush, Brendan McCurdy, Kareem Jakob, Jesse Chase, James Clark line the top 30 there. Further back, it'll be Keon Maduro down in P31.
Not able to get a time on the board to work out, but the drivers sitting behind the safety column, those lights getting brighter and brighter, which means the sun coming down is going to make things rather interesting for every single one of our drivers. And Sega, I've got to say, this is a circuit that as it gets darker, I get a little bit more worried. Those brake markers tend to fade into the shadows. You have to rely on muscle memory, and one thing that you never want to be doing is getting put off a line. Otherwise, that grass is very, very close and almost is a magnet towards the walls.
Well, Sebring is definitely an old school racetrack with punishing track limits, as well as ever-changing conditions. As we talked about, the track abrasion being very high here. The old asphalt has been talked about getting resurfaced time and time again, but the drivers petition every single year wanting it to remain the same, grueling and challenge that it is. Been around since the 50s, and it'll stand the test of time. Sebring tests man and machine throughout the entire race.
Now add on a whole bunch of top drivers to have a go at it. So it's going to be an interesting one as well, because Corey Jones and Clancy Garvin, they have fought it out in the past. But Corey Jones has always been one of the top runners all the way out from Australia. And I don't think he's planning to lose his streak here tonight.
No, I don't think he is. Corey Jones has run pretty much the top of the charts from the word go and has been an unstoppable force as we take a look at Mr. Jones here. And has led the charts pretty much all season long. Can he be stopped? Clancy Garvin's going to try to throw their elbows out in the opening stages of this event. And you can see how much that Corey Jones is working the wheel, trying to generate any form of heat into the tires.
It's going to be an interesting one as they start making their way to the back straight. Jed Cotterman looking to have some improvement. Last time out, unfortunately, got into a nasty accident and wasn't able to see it through to the end. Now looking to try and move forward this time around, and holding on to the second row will be trying to keep a very close eye on Javier Sierra. He's not going to make it easy as they make their way heading into Sunset Bend. Jason Holland also out on circuit, currently going to move up through the order. He's wanting a solid charge up through the order.
Well, Jason Holland actually leading the white badge class, so has nowhere to go but up from here at this point in time. Over to Corey Jones as we get over to the front stretch and get ready for the safety car to pull in. And the field will belong to Clancy Garvin and Corey Jones for the race start. And it's green, green, green here for Breaking Bad GT3 League. Coming down in towards turn number 1. That's going to be the inside line for that Aston Martin. It's going to be the front stretch that's going to be a bit hectic for the entire field. But everybody's going to get through neat and tidy. Very clean for the Breaking Bad GT3 field.
Late on the anchors, very, very clean. No sharing of paint. Drivers taking it easy as they just keep marching on. Unfortunately, Maduro out of the race before it even started. But we also had a spinner going and landing off, quite a few of them. Jacob Cotterman being one of the drivers, unfortunately pointing in the wrong direction. And now miles back from where he wanted to be. Started 5th and now down the order.
Over to Jason Holland. And we're going to keep an eye on for the white badge category. Running in P9, already lost nothing, but the means that everybody further back has gained all of the protection that Holland was looking for early on in this run. He had a buffer of around 4 cars between himself and Nicholas Uwano back in P2, but now that has just evaporated. Carl Ross is seemingly trying to take that one step further and get past Jason Holland now.
He's also got Carl Smith on the back of him, so he's needing to try and clear Jason Holland as quick as possible. They're losing time to João Baptista ahead, but it's all early stages of this race and drivers still needing to figure out, right, what do we need to do? How are we going to move forward? And how are we going to get our tires up to temperature? Because it's still ice cold there. And unfortunately, Jason Holland, a bit of a poor exit is going to cost him, as Carl Ross and now Carl Smith going to be blasting past down the back straight, heading into Sunset Bend. Who is the last of the late breakers? Jason Holland lifting, allowing the two to fight it out. It's going to be Carl Smith now slotting in right behind Carl Ross. Carl not going to make it any easier as they start their charge to Joe Baptista up ahead. Jed Cotterman going and leading out the pro field. Corey Jones leads out the Masters. Holland leads out the Pro-Am. And Jed runs out wide, getting a little bit of an incident point picked up there. Not what he wants to have. And we've seen drive-through penalties get handed out. That has absolutely turned these championships on its head.
Especially at Spa, the drive-through penalties were quite punishing. We knew that the drive-through penalties were going to come in, but in the final 5 minutes or so, I think we saw 2 or 3 come through, and it just absolutely unraveled people's races. But here at Sebring, this is an old-school flowy circuit with track limits being punished by the grass or runoff areas. it really doesn't benefit you to run wide unless you're talking about the airfield straight, you know, coming down the Flying Fortress straight, Bishop Bend, the Gendeben Bend, Lamont curves maybe. Otherwise, you're not really running into track limits anywhere where you can benefit, Steven. So I don't expect to see as many penalties as we have seen in other races, such as we did see at Spa.
I do think that the drivers are just going to be careful about getting a little bit closer. You can cut the curbs a little too tight. You get that bit more confidence, and it can bite you. Also, some slowdowns can throw you out of the running. I mean, anytime you pick up a slowdown heading out onto the back straightaway here, you're going to have to serve it before Sunset Bend, and that can throw you down the field. Jed Cotterman keeping it nice and clean at this stage of the game, leading out the pro field, but needs to be well aware that Javier Sierra is the buffer between him and Vishon Young Dilworth, who's going to be closing up at a rate of knots. So Javier Sierra is just that little bit of a buffer to try and protect, but can disappear very, very quickly. And suddenly, Jed will be under some serious pressure for the GT3 Pro field. But it looks like Corey Jones and Clancy Garvin absolutely run away at this stage of the game and are making dead sure not to stick around with the rest of the field. That is still very, very close to one another. No one losing out a bit of time as Frank Peralt going and losing out of position to Dennis Crosby.
Sean Young Dilworth all over the rear end of Javier Sierra through 3. Now through Gurney Bend in the hairpin turn. He's a little further back than I think he'd like to be in this battle for contention with Jed Cotterman for the lead of the race, because these are some coveted points that LaShawn Young Dilworth can definitely use to close down that massive gap going into the final 4 that we have on the calendar. We've come down to the final wickets of the calendar, and the points are definitely coming to a bitter end. Kareem Yaqub apparently having a crash and tumbles out from, I believe, P17 by the looks of it.
Not what he wants to have, especially trying to pick up through the championship. Now, I do think LaShawn at this stage of the game is just focusing on time management and fuel management. It is backing him up a little bit into João Baptista, Joseph Kelly, and Michael Anderson, but also trying to just preserve some of the fuel, some of the tire life, just to get a little bit later into the race. We've seen it where you can get super aggressive for the start. You can try and push that a little bit harder, but unfortunately, when you get towards the end of the race, the latter part, where some drivers even choose to remain on the same set of tires, they just haven't got the life to fight back. They haven't got the tire life to give it that extra little push. So taking things a little bit easier, not sweeping as hard through the corners, not taking it too tight, might be the best option in the early stages of this race, and to focus on just circulating. Don't worry about major runs. Carl Ross, however, going out wide as he tries around the outside, and now gets a switch round. Unfortunately, Michael Anderson into the dirt. He was able to recover, but now falling 3, going 4 positions out of the running. Not quite what he wanted. Anderson had a tremendous amount of understeer coming out of turn 1, and it's just bitten him pretty hard as he tries to fight back.
Hard-fought battles here on the concrete at Sebring, but nothing that the drivers can't contend with as the sun sets here in Florida, and the temperature is going to begin to fall. Those brake markers disappearing from the drivers, meaning the challenge is only going to increase as time goes on. We know that the drivers have obviously the bumps and the asphalt to contend with, but this definitely throws a wrench into the people's strategies as far as tire choices goes. We know in the real life Sebring of 12 hours, teams can definitely plan on double stinting their tires. But now, in the sim, does it transfer to the same reality during the dark, when the temperature has cooled off and the track is a little bit more forgiving? Can the driver still double stint them and still have good track management?
I think we're going to see a couple of double stints coming in for these tires. There's the very few that decide to switch out to a new set of tires are going to be costing them themselves some time, especially if you want to get it done. If you want to start getting a new set of tires on, you got to look at the halfway mark as a pit, put new tires on and go. If you want to run any longer than that, keep to the same set of tires. Try and keep some of the heat that's in it. I mean, we're down to 22 degrees Celsius air temperature, 24 degrees track temperature. That's cooling things off. Means that you can get that little bit more life out of them, but you also can't be dropping your wheel off on the curb the entire time. You're going to slowly but surely start to take a little bit of tire life out. You're going to start losing tire pressure as well, and that will land up in a world of hurt. John Vaught in the Lamborghini will start to feel a little bit more oversteer creeping out of his car as he pushes harder and harder. He's trying to catch up to Michael Anderson, but at the same time, Lamborghinis are notorious to destroy their tires. Kobe Brooks, who's in the Porsche 992.2 GT3, going and having a huge amount of fun there. They are a little more forgiving on tires. The new Porsches, the new models of those, are a lot more forgiving than what they used to be compared to their previous GT3 counterpart. But at the same time, you push them and get too aggressive, they will start to eat away at that front left, especially, and the drivers will have to keep a very good note of it, because the moment you start losing a little bit of grip in the front, just as you're turning in or you're hitting on the anchors, you're going to land up just understeering all the way out of corners, and that will then open you up for the entirety of the field to come barreling up your inside, and you will not be able to shut that door. The water gates will be open immediately. As we take a look to Dave Bush III, going and finding his way around, trying to look left, right, and center at this stage of the game. Not able to move a bit further up in the Masters division, as we've got a spinner, and that is Brian Lavessa going and landing up, pointing the wrong direction, nearly a bit of contact, and Kareem Yacob getting a meatball flag for severe damage, and unfortunately he has to return to the pits. Not quite what he wanted. Brendan McCurdy in the fight as well, trying to get past David Bush, who is going and putting his elbows out at this stage of the game. He's got his autism livery on, just autism awareness. Wonderful to see our sim racers going and showing off a bit to charity, a bit to everyone out there, saying, listen, we're all people, we all care. And for autism awareness, well, the whole team going and showing off what they can do. So it's wonderful to see the livery going around the circuit, and now needing to head a little bit up, as we do see Michael Anderson towing back to pits. A bit of a peculiar one for him.
Yeah, not sure what happened. Anderson having a bit of an issue, obviously going off track there and parking it before returning back to the garage. So not seeing an incident. That would be the causation of Anderson's return to the garage, unfortunately. Hopefully we can get a word from Anderson later to find out the causation of what happened there. But here's back to John Voigt in the number 29 Lamborghini. Up 5 positions from where they started, but 3 up in the category for now. Back to P4. That's a long way to go to catch back up to Josiah Kelly, who's up in P3. It'll be a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And he's got a couple of the white patch drivers between him, Nicholas Iwano and Jason Holland. Right at the road, but 2.6 seconds. I wonder if he's looking forward or backwards at this point of the race.
One thing you got to look at is who you actually racing out there. You don't want to be caught out in an unnecessary fight, especially this late into the championship. But at the same time, you want to be moving up. You want to show face. You want to say, right, I'm here. Take note of me. I'm going to be one of the drivers fighting out in the pro or in the masters class very, very soon. So you're trying to stamp your name forward. As you can see, Jason Holland, beautiful setup, triple screen plus the 4th monitor giving all the information he needs, and also 2 dashes on the steering. I don't know, for me that would be a little bit of a crazy setup. Not quite sure where to look, but for him, he's keeping his eyes firmly fixated forward and trying to just spot out where can he get some time. Relaxed, looking cool, calm and collected for now. Question is, can he keep up that cool, calm, collect back? No, look. as he fights on with Carl Smith ahead of him. Nicholas Iwano not making any sudden moves to try and get past, just sitting in the wings waiting for his options to open up for him and see if he can close up the distance.
Whoa, and there goes Iwano with a bit of a move. If I've ever seen one, holy Toledo. And that's going to send Iwano back to the garage immediately. Was that a collision with Jason Holland?
I wonder if that was, because it was a very peculiar slide that he got. And obviously the tires gripped up and took it straight to the wall afterwards. But I don't see any damage to the back of Jason Holland's car, or even to the side of it. So it might have been a near miss. Climbed on the anchors, locked it up, and got caught out. Not quite what he wanted to have, but that's just given Jason a little bit more breathing room for Nicholas Iwano, who has been fighting in the championship. This is a nightmare case scenario for him. And now,
speaking of nightmare situations, this is starting to turn into a nightmare situation for Jed Cotterman, because LaShawn Young Dilworth has been unleashed from those around him, and now has Jed Cotterman right in front. So João Baptista getting out of the way, and here goes João Baptista getting out of the way even further. Oh no, the Brazilian man not having a great last three runnings. It all started to go wrong at Interlagos, and then it's just gone ever so slightly wrong since then. Heart goes out to João Baptista right now.
That rear end getting hammered up against the wall. But let's take a look at this one. This is a 5-4 pro. Cotterman trying to keep alive Dilworth on the back of him. Jose Kelly as well, as the top three of the pro now see each other all in line and will be going for the charge. So far, Corey Jones, Clarence Galvin, and Javier Sierra lead out the Masters. They're sitting 1, 2, 3. Then 4, 5, 6 is our GT3 pro drivers. Jade Cotterman, LaShawn Young Dilworth, and Jose Kelly are right on the back of one another. So we are going to see ongoing fights up and down for our Masters and Pro at this stage of the game. But Dilworth just maintaining a solid pace in the Mustang. And you can see how aggressive he is actually going over those curbs. A little bit more comfortable. Jed Cotterman having to be a little bit more cautious on his approach, not to upset the balance of the Chev, as Dilworth not worried. He just nails it every time, hoping to get into the slipstream and hoping if he can try and make that little bit of room. And so far, up on his splits all round to Cotterman, and will be hoping to try and close up through Sunset. Very, very late dive on the inside. He was hoping to try and just cause Jed Cotterman to open up the steering a little bit earlier by looking in the review mirror, but Jed saying, nope, not going to fall for that one, not wanting to get caught out, and Dilworth having to rethink, what can I do to try and slow the pace up?
I think you have to wake up a little bit earlier in the morning to pull the wool over Jed Cotterman's eyes. There's a reason why he's leading the category in the championship standings bout. He's no slouch in his own right. And even though he's not had race starts particularly go his way, we're definitely not going to give him any more compliments tonight, lest we give him the commentator's curse. But he hasn't had the greatest of starts in some of these races. But somehow, some way, Jed continues to come back and climb through the ranks and the field to get these points to somehow be in the lead of the championship. We're going to have to talk to him one of these nights to find out how he's able to pull off these miraculous recovery drives.
I'll also take a look just up the road. Javier Sierra is within sight as well. Jed Cotterman trying to slowly but surely see if he can get into the slipstream and utilize Sierra's slipstream to break away from Dilworth and Kelly behind. For Sierra, it's a little bit no man's land at the moment, nowhere near Clancy Galvin and Corey Jones at this stage of the game, but we'll be keeping an eye on the review mirror as the lights flash in and out, because it is extremely dark out there. Sebring is one of these circuits that when the sun's around, it's beautiful. When the sun disappears, it's all muscle memory to keep you going over the bumps, especially here into Sunset, just to find your braking marker, get it hooked in. You want to avoid the large bump on the far right-hand side. Kobe Brooks getting overtaken in a straight line, just not having that straight line helping him out. And he is just biding his time, running second in the Pro-Am class as Dennis Crosby and Jack Clark got round him. He now needs to focus on what can he do to try and catch up to Jason Holland, or where he can hold up Frank Peralt further down the field. Oliver Brooks trying to go for the pass, backs out of it, second guessed, thought about getting past Owen Huffington into Sunset, but decided, nah, not quite my time right now. I'm going to just wait it out and see what we can do a little bit later on. Erring on the side of caution, and this is where driving in the night, you get to see a different skill of drivers, where those that are more than happy to take the risk know the circuit rather well. They can drive with their eyes closed, but then others that aren't too sure will always play on the side of caution. They'll always break that a little bit earlier and give plenty of room just in case they've got their lines wrong.
There's always a healthy margin of error that you would like to keep at the end of the day, but not between this duo, as Dennis Crosby and Jack Clark are going to continue their bout side by side. This brings along the likes of Kobe Brooks into the mix, but Kobe wants nothing to do with this conversation, says this is a battle up for you two gentlemen between Crosby and Clark.
Kobe Brooks going and erring on the side of caution. I'm second in my class. I don't need to get into an unnecessary brawl, but now going to utilize the slipstream wherever possible. You can be sure if Jack Clark hasn't got the pace, Kobe Brooks will look to retake that position. They are fighting for overall positions, but at the same time, you're in two different classes. You're getting towards the end, and we've just got a bit of word. Joseph Kelly going into pit lane with a meatball flag. Kelly in with a meatball flag, who was fighting for the top three in the pro division. Now that is a big turn of events, because that's just promoted John Voigt up into third place. What happened to Kelly? Swings the car around, the Ferrari all keeping together. Did the rear snap out? Yes, it did. Spun round, try to bring it back, but stuck it. Unfortunately, major impact to the nose.
Oh,
and I
man.
think it was Cole Ross that clipped him on the nose. And I wonder if Cole Ross also picked up a bit of damage to his car in the shed after catching the nose of the Ferrari. Joseph Kelly taking that pony to the glue factory, that's for certain. And not going to be having an easy time. And taking a look at Cole Ross's car, it looks okay, but might have a little bit of steering damage after that turn of events.
Let's check out what the Reaper Racing machine can do. The likes of Kyle Smith behind him currently. John Voigt and Dennis Crosby still lock in key right now. Let's switch over to this battle, as it is for the podium position in the category. John Voigt sitting in P3, Jason Holland sitting in P1 for the category, excuse me.
So as our drivers giving it that big push, we're down to 38 minutes and 26 seconds left of this race. Drivers trying to give it everything they can. Now I've got to ask a very difficult one. So again, this is one that I love to ask. When do we get in and out through the pits? Joseph Kelly getting out of pit lane after the impact. But for the rest of the field, do you go to the 30-minute mark? Do you get to the halfway? Or do you decide, hang on, I'm going to try and just pit as late as I can, try and get to the final 20 minutes of this race and see if I can just lift and coast around the circuit? It is entirely possible, but it means that you're going to be sacrificing precious seconds to try and go that little bit further.
Well, I think it definitely does matter if we can extend this stint or not. Depending on the strategy that the drivers are on, obviously taking tires versus not taking tires being the key deciding factor at this point of the race, you definitely want to opportunize the situation for you to gain back that lap time. Those drivers that haven't taken pit stops yet will definitely plan on not taking tires to the end of the race. Those that have clearly have taken tires at this point in their stage.
Drivers having to think a little bit outside the box now as they make their way through. Oliver Brooks trying to keep pushing. And this is John Vaught trying to see where he can make his way by. He's on the back of Jason Holland, looking left and right. Holland with a quick flash of lights going and just saying, hey, listen, we're coming through. But at the moment, John Vaught keeping the pressure on, looking to try and go down the inside. Does try and go late on the brakes and gets it done. It does look like Jason Holland going and saying, listen, take the position. I'm not going to argue too much there. Go and try and pull me along as well. Jason Holland fighting in the GT3 Pro-Am division and leading it. The last thing he wants to do is get caught out in a bit of a mix. Jack Clark, however, trying to push a little bit harder in his McLaren. Dennis Crosby ahead of him. And Kobe Brooks just holding on to the back, waiting, biding his chance at this stage, waiting for his opportunity to either get pulled along or does he need to pull the trigger and make his way around this fighting duo. Jack Clark, however, is not too quick heading towards our back straight and he's losing out a little bit of time to Dennis Crosby in that Mustang. That's got a huge amount of torque out of the corners and a little bit of top end speed. iRacing has recently redone its BOP and making the drag on the cars a little less, going and giving them a little bit of a power boost, especially on the McLaren. Getting rid of that little bit of drag has made a difference out here. David Bush III dives into the pit lane for his stop, and I would say that is the first of the planned pit stops coming into run, and David Bush III being the very first ones to get it done.
Yes, that would be the first of the planned pit stops. David Bush trying to go for a little bit of an undercut on the rest of the field, pitting out from P6 in the category. Right now, only one position gained, getting that one over João Baptista, who unfortunately had that big incident early on in the race, and he is running in P26 right now. 7th for the category for João as he sits. Right now, we're looking at the battle between Dennis Crosby, Jack Clark, and Kobe Brooks here on the racetrack. Live from you from Sebring International.
Now, Breaking Bad going and showing off what they can do out here. And Dennis Crosby up 15 positions from where he started and sitting into that top 10. Jack Clark trying to close down the difference. He's 7 positions up from where he started, with Kobe Brooks just hunting him down. Now, Kobe Brooks is keeping in the slipstream. He's keeping himself right there. And for Jack Clark, going and giving a little bit of room, allows Kobe Brooks to get on by, decided, listen, you get past, now pull me along. I need to try and close up to that Mustang. Maybe also save a bit of fuel in the process as well. So Jack Clark losing a little bit of time, very unsteady coming out of our final sectors and not too happy with the car. Gets into the slipstream. Kobe Brooks will be pulling him up a little bit closer to the Mustang of Dennis Crosby at this stage of the game. But Dennis needs to be well enough aware. Can't open the door. Can't be the friendliest person, otherwise he gets caught out. Jacob Codman looking to try and get past and not able to get it done. He's hunting down any opportunity against Frank Peralt, who is not going to be losing out any drive anytime soon. Switches to the far right-hand side, looking into turn 1 and allows Jacob Codman down the inside, giving him a bit of free rein there. Frank Peralt going and being the nice guy and says, well, there we go, take it. Stop sitting on my backside, and now you got to pull me along this time.
Over to the battle between Jed Codman and LaShawn Young Dilworth. The gap still sits right around that 1 second mark for the battle for P1 in the category right now. Jed giving up one coveted position to Javier Sierra overall, but still started this race in P1 for the category and holds that position for now. LaShawn Young Dilworth not really unleashing the beast, I would say. I think you called it pretty clearly early on. LaShawn Young Dilworth perhaps conserving a little bit of that tire and fuel at this stage of the race. Top speed still sitting at 161, so matching what Codman's been able to produce, but the lap times just slipping away a little bit right now LaShawn Young-Dilworth about 2/10 slower that last time by, but doing his best to close down the gap, and it's coming down the Ulmann Straight now.
That might be the key play here. Save a bit of fuel, save a bit on the tires, push harder at the end. Let everyone else work themselves down. Let the tires drop off. And we've seen this at Spa. We've seen this at Interlagos. We've seen this every single time. Drivers go and push hard for the start of the race. Second half, unfortunately, drops off a cliff and lands up going and thinking, well, that's not exactly how we wanted it to go. It's not exactly how we wanted to be at the sharp end of the field. And the question is Jed Cotterman going and pushing the tires a bit hard? Is Corey Jones, who's still keeping up a solid pace, keeping within the 159s, doing a 159.8 on his last lap. His best one was a 159.5. By keeping up that pace, are they going to slaughter out those tires and unfortunately feel it at the end of the race where the understeer creeps in? They can't stop the cars on the usual braking markers. They have to dial it back an extra meter or two just to try and keep things alive.
Now, I don't want to point out the elephant in the room, but oh my goodness, who was that? Spun out. That was Jesse Chase. Jesse Chase back in P25, ninth place for the white plates. But as I was saying, I think, is Jed wearing a Chevy t-shirt right now?
It looks like it, and what a way to do it. You drive a Chevy, you wear a Chevy, you live Chevy.
I think so. He's pulling it off as well right now, and I'm going to avoid saying nice things about Jed right now because we all know what happens when commentators say nice things about a driver. Things just do not go right, so we're actually going to look away and start watching LaShawn Young-Dilworth for a little bit.
Ooh, now LaShawn's going to be looking at you. He's closed up the difference quite a bit. 0.2 of a second. He's pulled the pin out of the hand grenade now and is going on a solid attack, trying to get on by. LaShawn managing to set a 2-minute 0.5 on that last lap to Jed Cotterman's 2-minute 0.9. They are very, very close in pace, and now it looks like LaShawn, sick and tired of sitting behind that Chev, looking to try and move forward. Dennis Crosby pulling into pit lane to get his pit stop done and dusted. With 29 minutes to go, we're just under the halfway mark. Drivers still out on the circuit. A couple of drivers yet to go in the pit still to get themselves sorted out. And so far, our top runners within the top 15 still need to do their pit stop. We've got James Clark diving into the pits as well. So the drivers are starting to look at what they need to do to move forward. David Bush III pitted extremely early. Remember we spoke about that undercut possibly coming into play? Well, David Bush III up to 16th position and leads out every single one of the cars that have pitted thus far.
And it's looking like a healthy bit of gain for him as well right now. So far, it's 12 positions on the up and up, and looking to get a few more as the rest of the field decides to take those pit stops. The Lamborghini driver of David Bush III similarly doing really well tonight and has the whole field ahead of him at this point in time.
Now, the question is, can that momentum keep going? You've got to be on the money. You've got to push a little bit harder. David Bush III, last lap time, you were looking at a 2-minute 0.1, which is roughly sitting what our top runners like LaShawn is doing, who dives into pit lane. So he's opting to try and undercut Jed Cotterman. Will fall down from Carl Ross, Carl Smith as he goes into pit lane. It is extremely slow. Get into your box and you just listen to all the symphony, the engines come barreling past you, knowing that, listen, I've got to try and get back on track. The question is, where does he come out? Because David Bush is the marker. It's the bar right there. And so far, Dilworth getting closer and closer to losing out that spot. So Bush down our back straight will be rounding Sunset Bend in just a few moments. And will he get ahead of Dilworth? Or will Dilworth be all good? Yep, it looks like Dilworth is going to get out ahead of David Bush as Nicholas pulls into the pit. So Dilworth now leads out those that have done a pit stop. And here comes the Lamborghini driver barreling on through. What a run. David Bush tried to get it sorted out, but it is going to be LaShawn who manages to lead out those that have done their pit stop and will be going and causing drivers ahead of him to scratch ahead whether they need to keep up the momentum. LaShawn now looking to move forward. Jeffrey Strong, unfortunately, hasn't had a stop as yet. Will need to get it done, lying in 17th position, and will fall down the order when he does it.
James Gilpin has Brennan McCurdy in front of him right now. The driver's not battling for position in their classes, but battling for positions overall. It could potentially disrupt each other's flow and rhythm. And there goes through Gilpin on Brennan McCurdy, who was seemingly reluctant to give up that position there.
I'll take it a look. Clancy Garvin, Javier Sierra managing to pull into the pits. And Clancy Garvin got the fastest lap time of the race with 1:59.503. They dived into the pits, allowing Corey Jones to break away. Jed Cotterman up to second. Carl Ross, Carl Smith, Kobe Brooks is starting to make up a bit of positions. Jack Clark as well. And I wonder if Corey Jones, taking a look at everyone doing their pit stops, going to be considering, right, do I need to get into the box? I've got 11 seconds to play with over the rest of the field. My Aston Martin can go a long way. The question is, can the pace stay the same? Last time out was a 2:02, so not too badly off the mark. Jed Cotterman running the same lap time. Carl Ross was the only one that was slightly far from them and will be considering. Now, for Jed Cotterman, it's critical to get a pit stop done, dusted, and out before he gets caught out by John Vaught and also by Dilworth, who have dived into the pits.
Waiting for LaShawn Young Dilworth to get that lap time in before we can say whether he is able to pick up the pace or not. But a pit time came in for LaShawn Young Dilworth at 21 seconds, matching the times of Javier Sierra and Clancy Garvin, so nothing to really squawk at there. And same for the pit lane time, the transient time down the lane, roughly the same. Oliver Brooks Clancy Garvin about 3 seconds slower than the rest of the field, putting in 54 seconds down the lane, while the rest of the field right around that 50 to 51 second mark.
Corey Jones into pit lane. Now needs to keep an eye on Clancy Garvin, who sits in 9th position, leading out all the drivers that have done their pit stops. And now this is going to be an interesting one. Jed Cotterman, Carl Ross, all diving into the pits. Will Carl Smith, will Kobe Brooks follow or go an extra lap? This is where who saved enough fuel. With 23 minutes to go, it is going to be a sprint race right to the end. As the train comes in, everyone trying to get themselves sorted. And you can see Corey Jones keeping an eye on the prize, watching to when he gets released, getting it refilled, putting it into gear, and away he goes. So let's see if it's worked out in his favor for Corey Jones as he exits pit lane. Can't get off the pit limiter a bit too early, otherwise he will land up with a penalty. But Corey Jones retakes the lead of the race. Right behind him, Clancy Garvin up into second, with Jed Cotterman remaining in third ahead of Javier Sierra. LaShawn Dilworth now up into 6th behind Carl Smith. Carl Ross, David Bush holding 7th and 8th. Jason Holland managing to capture 9th position. Top 10 at the moment is first out of the pits, and that's going to be Kobe Brooks with Jack Clark right on his tail.
Wow, that was an exciting couple of moments because the pit lane became illuminated with headlights and the crews were alive for just a few moments in time. But now they go back to rest as pretty much the entirety of the field, other than Jeffrey Strong, who's in the pit lane now, will take their service, and we'll finish out the 22 minutes remaining on the clock, Stephen.
Now there's no room for error. Any damage that you pick up, well, guess what? You're driving to the end with it. And we've seen what's happened at Spa. That little bit of a corner hit can take your race and throw it in the bin. Last thing you want to be doing is revisiting pit lane. Last thing you want is to get things wrong, especially here in the dark. It's rather easy to do. It's rather easy to miss that brake marker by 5 meters, especially when you're pushing these cars harder and harder. Top speeds of 256, 258 kilometers now, up to 269 kilometers now on a cold circuit, 23 degrees. It is clear with a high humidity, but still you can land up making a serious mistake that can take you cleanly out of this race. No one is safe right now. Javier Sierra trying to make his way around Jed Cotterman, who holds the line. Sierra now just hoping to get the drive. The two Chevs now keeping pressure on one another, much as Carl Smith and LaShawn Young-Dilworth are doing exactly that. Jed holding his racing line, not going for any blocks, not going and holding back. He is just aiming to hold on to top 3 overall. Sierra wanting to retake that top 3 and see if he can chase down Clancy Garvin in the Masters class.
Might be a little too late. Javier Sierra's done this move before on Jed Cotterman and now has to do all that work over again, as Jed was faster in the pit lane service and the pit lane time. Was able to get that done. Jed defends fair and square for this position. I think he's looking for an overall podium tonight as he gets flashy of the headlights from Javier Sierra, who's wondering what's going on with the communication here.
I think Javier Sierra busy saying, listen, we're in 2 different classes here, don't fight me out. But they are fighting for overall track position, so Jed doesn't have to jump out the way. He can hold his line, keep in the race. For Sierra, thinking, hang on, Cotterman is sitting in a pro class, I'm in the Masters class, we're not actually fighting one another, but it looks like Jed Cotterman saying, listen, I'm going for 3rd overall. I'm going to keep going regardless of who you are, what class you are. I am in a race here. And now, for Javier Sierra, this is a little bit frustrating because he just wants to get past and get clear and try and chase down Clancy Garvin. But at the same time, they're in a race. They can't go and just back off. It's going to be up to Javier Sierra to get that pass done safely and cleanly. He must know and get past Jed, utilizing a little bit of pace, maybe outbraking him. But for Sierra, he needs to keep a cool, calm, collected head. Otherwise, he will be landing up into the grass and mowing the lawn a little bit earlier than planned here at this former airbase, now called Sebring Grand Prix Circuit.
Now, yeah, I mean, I do have to agree with Jed's stance, though. It is up to Javier Sierra to make the move happen cleanly. I mean, if I'm Jed, what I would be screaming in my headset right now is, if you're faster, prove it to me. Get the move done and dusted cleanly, though. Don't expect me to just force your way through. You're in a heated battle with LaShawn Young-Dilworth, and we saw what happens when Jed Cotterman was perhaps a little too nice to the rest of the field. Letting them through allowed LaShawn to close down the gap. Just get Jed in the crosshairs and make it a challenge at the pit stop cycle. Right now, he has a healthy buffer, Jed does. And I think he's hoping to keep it that way into the final 20 minutes of this race.
You cannot count out the other fights behind. LaShawn fighting out with Carl Smith as he's trying to gain a little bit of time. It does look like our pros taking on the Masters up and down through the field. Each of them trying to find out what can we do to keep the momentum going, to stay towards the sharp end of the field, and where do we need to be by the end of this race. Carl Smith just within arm's reach of LaShawn, who is constantly putting pressure, trying to see where exactly can he close up the difference. Currently sitting just out of the top 5. Cole Ross on the back of him, wanting to move forward, and he's got David Bush the third trying to chase him down in the Lamborghini. But that being said, Cole Ross is just trying to navigate his way around this track. And you can see into the dark, extremely difficult, and how pitch black this track actually becomes. You have to trust your headlights, and you start to realize, hang on, maybe my car has got some serious pace to it, but maybe they haven't quite got the best of headlights, more like candles in the wind.
Yeah, it's just extremely challenging for the drivers right now to negotiate the very dark conditions here at Sebring International, let alone the already known conditions. Now the dark, only illuminated by the few palm trees, brought to you the track side by the campers and the fans. Otherwise, Sebring is a relatively dark track. And small correction, and this is just a tiny correction. Sebring was actually an Army Air Corps base, not an air base. It was an Army Air Corps base back in the day, because back in the day, there was no difference between the Air Force and the Army. It was all the Army and the Army Air Corps, and they since separated post-World War II.
Fair enough. A little bit of history getting brought in right here on Breaking Bad as we see an ongoing fight. Carl Ross now all over the back, trying to move forward with LaShawn now under some serious pressure. Carl Ross wanting to just circle around, get past, and now chase after Carl Smith ahead. However, LaShawn going and protecting his line and making dead sure that the Chev can't get on by. Carl Ross getting a little bit frustrated. You can see going a wide line, trying to utilize every little bit of the circuit to get any sort of drive out on the Mustang. But he's going to have to look for a great corner exit out of Sunset. Runs out wide, seeing if he can go for the undercut. Swings back under, and has it worked out? Unfortunately not. Couldn't quite get the jump. And now LaShawn Young-Dilworth loses out the drive.
But still holds on to that position in front of Carl Ross and David Bush. And Bush, like we were keeping track of him earlier, is up 20 positions right now overall tonight. Just unbelievable drive from Bush, who started from the back of the pack and has gained 1 position in the category on the evening. 14 to go on the clock. Still plenty of time for drivers to get things happening.
Trying to figure out what they can do, and lying on the back of them as well. 26th position, João Baptista, who had a bit of a problem early stages of the race, holds on to that train, just keeping it together. Joseph Kelly also, we saw a problem come in with Kelly earlier in the race, now trying to chase down Owen Huffington, looking a little bit to the inside, second guess it, and will rather wait it out as he allows Huffington to go out wide, very, very wide through Sunset, enough to try and find the sun and put it back in its place. And that's just allowed Kelly to move up into 20th. Carl Smith, however, dropping down 2 positions. What on earth happened to Carl Smith? Oh, well, there we go. Visiting the lawn. Oh, and gets a turn around again, as Dave Bush says, thank you very much. Got on the power too early and rejoins the circuit as everyone having to take away. Jeffrey Strong landing up, having to go to pits with a bit of damage. Here's Carl Smith. He gets rotated around, hard knock against the nose. And I do wonder if the red mist came down and frustration just got part of it. And unfortunately, one of the drivers getting slightly clipped out there and landing up with a bit of a problem. So not a time for them. James Clark back into the pits. Jeffrey Strong into the pits. And it looks like for speeding as well, will get a drive-through penalty on top of the damage that he had during the course of the race. So not only are you getting a bit of repair work to the car, you're going to have to visit it a 3rd time to try and serve that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, that is just damaging to the ego for sure. Coming into the final 12.5 minutes of the session to get slapped with insult to injury at the end of the day. But now it's LaShawn Young-Dilworth still battling with Carl Ross, who looks to the inside line going into the hairpin and up through the Fangio chicane. It will be the run belonging to Carl Ross this time.
Not a way to easily guard the line as it's side by side. Carl Ross holding the inside line as LaShawn try to go past, and he opens up the door a little bit. Now to have João Baptista having a look around. João a lap down, but is still looking to try and unlap himself, get involved in the fight, and see if he can close up and move a bit closer to Jesse Chase further up the field by 7 seconds. Baptista leaning on LaShawn a little bit more, saying, right, come on, buddy, you best get going. You best carry the drive because I'm making up a huge amount of time here and you're not getting the pace. So let's see, are we going to work together or do we need to take matters into our own hands? Kobe Brooks, Jason Holland, they keeping into a close fight. Carl Smith and Jack Clark as well. Javier Sierra and Jed Cotterman keeping with each other. So there is little fights up and down through the field. Everyone giving it that final push for the next 11 minutes to maximize points as Kobe Brooks trying to bait a move down the inside. And unfortunately, it looks like Jason Holland going and pulling a David Copperfield down the straightaway. Not what Kobe Brooks wanted to see. And keeps a very close eye on that McLaren, saying, right, just don't do that again, as Kobe nearly into the wall. Really trying to carry the momentum through. Had to get it very, very close to the wall. And what a drive as Kobe fights out for 8th position and second, fighting first in the GT3 Pro-Am. Jason Holland under some serious pressure, trying to hold the line, and Kobe Brooks absolutely brawling towards him. So Kobe Brooks trying everything he can. Kerem now into the pits yet again. Non-ideal situation. And Kobe Brooks trying to step up the pace, trying to see where exactly can he get the run up through the order. Jason Holland, once again, a solid defense, hoping to protect his line, trying to figure out what is going to be the big game plan here, what is needed to hold on to the lead of the Pro-Am field. And Kobe bouncing over those curbs, trying once again around the outside, switching to the inside, just throwing it everywhere, hoping to put his nose forward. Runs out a bit wide, nearly into the dirt. Jason Holland soaking up the pressure, not worried about his rearview mirrors, forcing Kobe Brook to really think outside the box here to try and get that pass done. However, it's going to be some extremely hard work of note. I mean, Sega, this is incredible racing, and this is for our GT3 Pro-Am field, with anything can happen. Maximizing the points is absolutely crucial as we enter the last stages of the championship. And for the Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 Championship, it's now all about making it work. Otherwise, you're in for a world of trouble, and we'll have to wait until the new season starts.
Line of stern between Holland and Kobe Brooks. It'll be the McLaren leading the Porsche going in towards turn 1 for now. Then the kink of turn 2 all the way to the hairpin of turn 3. Javier Sierra and Jed Cotterman exchanging positions for just a moment in time. There goes Javier Sierra through on Jed Cotterman.
A little bit of a flashing light saying, okay, buddy, that was on the close side. We've made it together, but now it's going to be side by side as Kobe Brooks trying to keep it on around the outside. Saw if he could try get a pass. Carries a lot of momentum. Jason Holland guards the inside line, protecting the apex as Kobe Brooks nowhere to go. Had to come off the throttle just a little bit, but is absolutely hunting down every opportunity, trying to figure out where to go. 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go. First place in the GT3 Pro-Am, separated by 0.2 of a second. You couldn't get closer if you tried. And at the moment, Kobe Brooks looking to maximize his points. Jason Holland looking to defy that. He wants to be at the top of the charts. He's not going to let the 333 get ahead of him. The McLaren looking to lead out the field. in the GT3 Pro-Am, now under some severe pressure from Kobe Brooks in the Porsche 992 GT3R.
The heat is definitely on going into the final 3 laps of the race. Corey Jones just crossed the line a few moments ago, so that'll leave us with just about 3+1 at the end of the day.
Some great racing. Jed Cotterman also keeping in the fight with Javier Sierra, just trying to pull himself along. Question is, who has got the stamina to go the extra mile as these drivers are starting to wear down? Remember, this race is an hour. We're now down to 6 minutes and 28 seconds. The drivers having to focus for such a long time, especially as we went from sunset into the night. And that forces you to really start to think about your brake markers, where you're accelerating, what you need to do, as unfortunately for Holland, a poor exit now allows Kobe Brooks to go up on the inside and will be charging his way through. Kobe Brooks maintains a solid line, looks to try and get back to the racing line. It's a big look on the inside for Jason Holland, bait and switch, but couldn't quite keep the drive out of the corner. Tries to go side by side through the long right-hander. Kobe Brooks just keeping the nose ahead, is able to close the door off, and Jason Holland back down in second and sends it down the inside. Couldn't quite get it done, forcing Kobe Brooks off the apex. Both drivers brawling it out, and that is going to allow Carl Smith to start closing up the distance as well.
It was looking good for Jason Holland for so long, up until the very last moment. Kobe Brooks pulled out all the stops and was able to get around Holland there with just under 5.5 left to go. But now the question still remains, can he maintain that pace and consistency with the 5.5 remaining on the clock, Stephen?
Well, this is where we spoke about the tires early on in the race, because both drivers have not taken a new set of tires. They fueled up, got their tires, and headed out onto the circuit. So these are still the old tires that they were trying to preserve some life in. It looks like Kobe Brooks was able to keep a little bit more life in those tires to try and push himself a bit forward. Jason Holland, however, now needing to really eke out every little bit of life out of those tires to see if he can try retake the lead of the GT3 Pro-Am Championship, and also to see if he can move forward. Now, Jason Holland is no slouch in that McLaren. He makes up a lot of time under braking, trying to look for every bait and switch that he can, as unfortunately Owen Huffington landing up into the dirt somewhere and losing out a few positions as he drops to 25th. But Jason Holland is not making it easy for Kobe Brooks to run away. He's just biding his time at this stage of the game, but time is not on his side. He's going to have to look for a send somewhere to try and get the pass done and dusted. He's going to have to go from Jason Holland to become Postman Pat and his black and white cats to try and send it down the inside of Kobe Brooks.
When will the send come? I'm expecting a last lap lunge by the looks of it, but he's got to be there in order to make the move presentable, at least. LaShawn Young-Dilworth still sitting behind Carl Ross in his efforts to close down his gap to Jed Cotterman has come down to nothing in the final 3 minutes. Corey Jones about to cross the line here, and that will give us this one plus one more.
So getting right to the end of the race, and a couple of cars landing up into the dirt. Carl Smith going and out braking. He landed up into the dirt, now trying to pull himself together. We saw Owen Huffington, who was caught in the dirt as well, as we were watching Jason Holland and Kobe Brooks navigate their way through. So a couple of drivers feeling the pressure. João Baptista into the pit lane yet again, and that is very, very unplanned for him. The 24 possibly running into a few issues, needing fuel possibly to be put into the car. Baptista, one of the top runners in the category, unfortunately having a nightmare of a race and being thrown all the way down. At the moment, Jacob Cotterman managing to get past Jack Clark as they fight out for 11th and 12th as well. So there's still ongoing fights. Jacob Cotterman currently sits in third for the GT3 Pro class and going and fighting their way through. I mean, this is just turning into a race and a half. Drivers giving it everything they can to move forward, and I don't quite know what's going to happen towards the end, because every single driver hoping to maximize the points here tonight, maximize the points at Sebring, and take some of the momentum into next week's race. They are aiming to really keep a hard push, but I do want to point out that Clancy Garvin is yet to have his best lap time of the race beaten. He sits with a 159.3. Did that early on in the race, lies in second place behind Corey Jones, who has just kept himself going. The Get Good Endurance team going and keeping Clancy Garvin at bay. And once again, Clancy, no one in sight, just keeps circulating and just watching for the timer as Kieran Yakub going and getting past Owen Huffington, who's now in pit lane. Corey Jones from start heading towards finish, leader of the race. Can the Australian be beaten by anyone, or is this going to be an easy run and building up a monstrous streak here at the Breaking Bad GT3 Championship?
He's definitely showed us what he's capable of doing time and time again across the variety of disciplines that we've had in the GT3 Breaking Bad League. We've been to Spa, we've been to Monza, we've been to so many iconic tracks, and now here at Sebring, he still tops the charts.
Great stuff to see, and consistency coming into play, but the fights are not over as yet. Third place in the GT3 Pro, 11th and 12th starting to get right onto the back of one another, and it's Jacob Cotterman and Jack Clark as they closed up to Kyle Smith. Now Jacob Cotterman currently holding third in class and will be trying to keep it, as Jack Clark looking to put a huge amount of pressure. The question is, can Jack get the pass done to capture third in the GT3 Pro, or is he going to lose out the run? Kyle Smith a little bit slower up at the top, and that's allowed Jack to close up on Jacob. Drivers giving it that final push, hoping they can get it down to the line. Corey Jones with a 7-second lead will take second place over Clancy Garvin, and Javier Sierra taking third in the GT3 Masters. But it's all open cards heading into the GT3 Pro. Jed Cotterman will be leading that one out. He's got Sean Young-Dilworth in second place. But man, oh man, what a race it has been. Start to finish. Corey Jones takes overall and class win. Yet again, carries the streak forward. Corey Jones, winner of our GT3 Masters and overall. Clancy Garvin finishes up in second place. Javier Sierra will take third, and smiling ear to ear on that one. Jed Cotterman taking the win in the GT3 Pro, and fourth overall, with Carl Ross taking fifth overall. LaShawn Young-Dilworth will take second place in the GT3 Pro field. Right behind him, David Bush the third, Kobe Brooks going and managing to keep the pace. Will be more than happy walking away with a GT3 Pro-Am win over Jason Holland. Carl Smith will round out our top 10, with Jacob Cotterman taking third place in the GT3 Pro. Jack Clark right behind him, tried to give it that final push. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get it done. And Jean Vort coming across in 13th position. Sega, I mean, this has been an incredible race, and drivers really had to think of what they need to do to stay at the top. Unfortunately, a couple of drivers not able to make it down to the line. Owen Huffington, Nicholas Iwano, Brian Lavissa, Michael Anderson, and Karon Maduro. Unfortunately, a non-starter here tonight.
Definitely a great show from green to checkered flag. The drivers put up quite a fight, and more than I would have expected after everything that went down at Spa-Francorchamps last week of running. But it seems like we're back to our old Breaking Bad roots. Hard, good, clean, fair racing. It was a great battle between LaShawn Young-Dilworth and Jed Cotterman up at the front. It was a great and clean battle between Kobe Brooks and Jason Holland. This is the Breaking Bad that we saw start the season, and I think this is the Breaking Bad that we're going to see definitely end the season as well.
And it's going to be absolutely on the back of one another right to the very end as Kurim comes across the line, last of our runners, now crossing that checkered flag. Absolutely wonderful. And let's take a look at who finished where. Our GT3 Masters, it is Corey Jones ahead of Clancy Gavin. It's Javier Sierra in third, Carl Ross, David Bush, Carl Smith, and João Baptista rounding out our top 7. But Sega, you have got our GT3 Pro division, and take us through it.
It'll be Jed Kahneman, LaShawn Young, Dilworth, Jacob Kahneman, the 1, 2, 3 there. Jack Clark, John Voight, Brendan McCurdy, Dennis Crosby, Cal Dersham, James Clark, Josiah Kelly, Michael Anderson, and Keon Maduro round out the 12 participants there.
Looking at our Pro-Am, Kobe Brooks took the win with Jason Holland on the back of him. Oliver Brooks will take third. Frank Perrault, followed by Nicholas Paul, James Jelpin, along with Jesse Chase, Jeffrey Strong, Karen Jacob, Owen Huffington, unfortunately not seeing the checker flag, along with Nicholas Oano and Brian Lavessa, rounding out the pack in the Pro-Am order.
And it looks like we have a couple drivers just loitering outside the broadcast booth. Steven, I'll let you decide who you want to welcome in first and in which order we're going to talk to them.
Let's have a chat to our winner of the Pro-Am, and we'll work our way up from there. Let's have a chat to Kobe Brooks. Kobe, welcome to the commentary box, and what a race for you. An up and down fight. Jason Holland trying to go and capture that first place right at the end. How was the race out there in the Porsche from sunset into the dark?
Oh, hello.
So
Yeah,
Hello.
hey, so, sorry, you guys caught me off guard. I'm still calming down here from the amazing race holding off Jason for what felt like an eternity. Yeah, it was an amazing feeling, though, to come to the fireworks and cross the finish line first for the Pro-Am class.
Now, how was it out there? I mean, the transition from having a little bit of light into the pitch black, and suddenly your competition is just headlights around you. How are you finding it out at Sebring tonight?
Oh, it was amazing. You know, I got really good at identifying what model was behind me based on the headlights. So that was fun. I will say, though, I think everybody would agree with me. Driving Sebring at night is one of the most soothing things you can do. So honestly, when the sun went down, I was locked in, had a good playlist going, and then the rest is history.
And I'm guessing it went to rock music or heavy metal the moment Jason Holland was right on your tail, pushing you that little bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. Head banging and everything.
Absolutely wonderful. With that being said, what's the game plan heading into the rest of the championship now that you're taking the momentum after winning your class here at Sebring?
Just going to continue wheeling this circle Porsche. You know, it's just momentum, like you said. Keep that snowball rolling. Keep letting it get bigger and bigger and bigger, and hopefully we can do something special by the end of the year.
That's going to be a great one. Kobe, before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations, to calm down after a brilliant fight, anything you want to say to the drivers, to the teams, to the families here in Breaking Bad, and to everyone out in the Racer Nexus virtual grandstand that have been cheering you guys along?
Yeah, thank you for a great atmosphere tonight. The energy was amazing out there at Sebring. And as you saw, we're in the Circle Technically Gifted Porsche. So head to the Apple App Store and download Circle Music for your mood.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, the mood is definitely going to be partying for Kobe Brooks taking the victory in the Pro-Am class. But that being said, Sega, you managed to get hold of our Pro winner, Jed Cotterman, after his race.
Let's talk to the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Jed Cotterman. How does it feel? And I'm going to preface this with, man, I don't think we've had the pleasure of talking to you because you've been in so many recovery drives up to this point. Now, what does it feel like to have such a good and clean race here at Sebring?
You know, man, like this is one of my home tracks. This and Daytona is right at an hour and a half, give or take either way. So I've got so much time here. You know, I'm gonna take P4 in the win, but man, that podium finish that would have been just That would have been so much better. You know, kudos to Javier. He raced me absolutely clean. I've got no complaints. He just put enough pressure in me. I didn't brake hard enough going into turn 3, and yeah, he got me. I mean, there's no other way about it. And then I started overdriving the car, and he just went away. And then I was like, all right, well, I still got the win, the class win. So I kind of settled back in, and
Yeah.
you know, we finished the race. We had just enough fuel. I mean, I couldn't have made it to the hairpin. I mean, I was
Oh man.
But yeah, man, we're good. I'll take it.
And you had a great pit stop too. I think that actually got you back in front of Javi Sierra at the end of the day. So he had gotten by you once, if I'm not mistaken, and he had to do it again during the second half of the stint. So your pit stop being roughly 3 seconds faster and your transient 3 seconds faster, giving you a huge 6-second buffer to Javi at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I was behind him, and we were so close. I was able to save some fuel, and I got to go that extra lap. And then I just, yeah, that's the only thing. I just being able to save fuel, being behind him. I'm assuming because, you know, with the new BOP, they took away some of my fuel mileage. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, and then real quick, man, I apologize. Jacob and I completely forgot about the race sponsor thing. So shout out to Beads by JC, Jacob's online bead shop that he makes like the baseball necklaces and stuff. And kudos to all of our sponsors: Sunrise Surf Shop, A Great Fence, Frady Excavating, and the Door Guys. They're going to be coming on board with us next season, so go ahead and start plugging those guys in. But yeah, man, it was a great race. I don't know what happened behind me. I think there was a little bit of chaos and some jumping of the green on the start, but we're going to do our race review here and see what we do.
Last thing I want to ask you about, Jed, since you already got my question out of the way of who'd you like to thank or shout out, we do have a special event coming up soon. Do you want to talk about that for a quick moment?
Yeah, I wanted to do a little league appreciation from, you know, me and the league to all the drivers who, you know, awesomely show up week after week. I mean, we had a little lesser of a crowd tonight because of the neck. There was like a 24-hour race or something, which we lost a lot of guys to that, which, you know, what it is. But anyway,
31 is a small grid to Breaking Bad. Got it, Jed. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been averaging like 40 or so, right?
That's true. Yeah.
No, I wanted to just do a fun race that, you know, just keep everybody together. And then again, like an appreciation from me to the drivers. We're going to do like an IMSA style. So we're going to have GTPs, LMP2s, and GT3s for 90 minutes at Daytona. Just like I said, just to have some fun. Keep it clean, keep the racing close and competitive, but just you know, a little multi-class, so it'll be fun.
It'll be fun, and it'll be a world of excitement. I love multi-class racing, so multi-class at Daytona is going to be one of my favorite combos. Whether I'm in the booth or watching live, I can't wait to be a part of it, Jed. Any final shout-outs on the evening?
No, just again, kudos to you guys, man. I absolutely love going back and watching the broadcast. You guys do just an excellent job. You know, you, Rob, everybody who takes place in the Racer Nexus environment there. The guys. I'm hoping the racing cleaned up a little bit. We had to, you know, implement the race review tonight because we've been having some issues, and I absolutely hate issuing penalties, but you know, in order to keep everything to the league standards and what I'm looking for, it's unfortunate, but we got to do it. But without you know, there's no league without its drivers, so it's a collaborative event. You know, shout out to Jacob and his little company that he's got. He does very, very well for being 15. Let me tell you, he's always sending stuff out. He's done professional baseball players, believe it or not. He really, really does a good job with that. So shout out to him for sponsoring this race. I think next week is on me, maybe. Yeah, that's it, man.
Right on, Jed. Thank you very much. And that's Beads by JC in case you're interested. Jed, have a wonderful night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys. You too, buddy.
Great to see the positivity coming in and also excitement as well. But that being said, our final driver for the evening, overall victory and victory in the Masters, Corey Jones, going and keeping up the streak. Mate, it has been a great one. How are you feeling after that?
A lot more relieved now that it's over, that's for sure. It got quite dark towards the end there. It was hard to hit the apexes. I was missing Le Mans onto the back straight a few times towards the end there, but I was happy that I could finish it off, which was great.
Now, take us through, how was it at night? I mean, it's pitch black, you trying to carve your way through the field, all you're seeing is headlights, brake lights, and just hoping that there isn't a car in between pointing in the wrong direction. How was it to navigate but still keep up doing sub 2-minute lap times?
Yeah, look, there was quite a lot of focus involved, that's for sure. I was just trying to hit my marks. I was trying to save tyres towards the first half of the first stint because last week at Spa it really dropped off in the last 10-15 minutes, and that was sort of my main goal tonight because because of how bumpy Sebring is, I didn't want to run into that issue of just accidentally clipping a curb and ruining the race and losing the win. So yeah, that was my main objective tonight, and hopefully it came out good. So hopefully next week carry on the momentum and maybe go for a championship, even though I've missed a couple of races.
Well, with the target on your back now getting bigger and bigger, do you feel the pressure from the grid is starting to lean on you a little bit, or are you keeping it cool, calm and collected and looking just to say, well, it's all mine and you guys are going to have to work a bit harder?
Yeah, look, Clancy definitely it really shocked me tonight, that's for sure. Like I don't think he was at Spa or he was caught up in the big crash at the top of the mountain there. So a lot of last week was really just hit my marks and come home, but definitely tonight was a lot more pressure involved. My main objective is just to finish the race, and I know I've got the natural pace to keep the consistency up, and yeah, it's good. Everyone's got a target on my back, but for my eyes, I see it as they've got a goal to aspire to get to my pace and try and reach me, which ultimately makes it a lot nicer to race with, for sure. So that's all I can really hope for.
Absolutely well said. Before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations and relax, anything you would like to say to all the drivers and teams out here in Breaking Bad, and also to all the petrol heads that lined the virtual grandstands here at the Racer Nexus?
Yeah, look, it was a good race tonight. It was I only saw a few spotter incidents, so it sounds like it cleaned up a little bit compared to last weekend. So that was good. And in the chat and party that I sit in, it seemed pretty relaxed or tame, and they were having a good old fight. So yeah, a lot better. And always you guys as well. The streams turn out amazing. And thanks for the commentary, and yeah, hopefully looking after the multi-class fun race at the end of the race, at the end of the season will be hectic. There's a lot more involved with you guys looking after all the classes and leaders and stuff. So yeah, good luck to you guys for that, that's for sure.
Thank you very much, Corey Jones, and good luck to you on a stellar effort. We look forward to having a chat with you next week, and enjoy the rest. I know those gloves must be sweaty and getting a little
definitely.
bit of air out.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you, Corey Jones, and well done on the victory. Wow, oh wow. So this has been an incredible race Been a tricky one, but now we're getting closer and closer to the end of the championship. Anything can happen. Your final thoughts before we say farewell to the amazing crowd we have here at Racer Nexus for the Breaking Bad GT3 Championship.
You know, the only thing that I want to mention to everybody that said, to me, what a great stream we put on. I gotta give my hats off to you, Stephen Kernick, for doing the heavy lifting. From the word go, the calls have been excellent from the beginning of this championship, and there's no one I'd rather be in the booth with than you. So thank you very much for being my partner in crime here at the Breaking Bad GT3 League, where we get to watch amazing drivers such as Corey Jones, Clancy Garvin, Jed Cotterman, LaShawn Young Dilworth, Kyle Smith, Jason Holland, Nicholas Owano, Kobe Brooks, Brian Lavrisa, Frank Perot, all go after it week after week. There's nowhere else I'd rather spend my Saturday evening other than with the Breaking Bad GT3 League, whether I'm behind the mic or behind the steering wheel. I'll be here till the end of time, Steven.
It's going to be a great one. And likewise, Sega, absolutely wonderful to be on air with you and with our incredible drivers. All the camera shots brought in by Track Cams and Sega going and showing the incredible shots, capturing all the action right here on the Racer Nexus. And we want to say thank you to all our sponsors with the series. We look forward to seeing you guys next time out as we're going to be battling it all the way through. We leave Sebring International. We say farewell. And like always, we look forward to week 8. But folks, it's getting close to the end of the championship. Make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification icon and let us know what was your favorite moment here tonight in the Breaking Bad GT3 Championship. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.